Hi, everybody. Carl the Prado, A to Z Business IT. Last time I was talking, I was bringing up the MGM attacks from the week before, and we were about 4 or 5 days into this attack. And as it's progressed, we've started to see more and more. And when I originally talked to you guys, I had mentioned that there possibly was probably more than the two companies that had been affected: MGM, Caesars, and part of Caesars, which is Harrah's. For those who aren't familiar with this attack, and it's becoming more and more public, um, these casinos were hit a few days apart from each other. Um, Caesars and Harrah's Casino, which is were attacked on September 7th. Um, they paid a ransom of between 15 to 30 million dollars. We do not have the right numbers yet. On top of that, the MGM hotels decided not to pay the ransom, and their systems were shut down. It was quite devastating. We're talking about people not getting into their rooms, hotels being doors being locked to places. And fortunately, as I've mentioned, there wasn't any. We haven't had any reports yet of any loss of life due to this happening, because this happened over 90 properties. We're talking thousands and thousands of hotel rooms were affected, and guests were affected. People were locked out of the rooms for hours and hours. I mean, I was just thinking it's something as simple as when I travel, I bring certain medications with me, and I'm just thinking if people couldn't get to certain things like insulin or something like that, it can really have caused some medical emergencies of some form or another. Um, so we've just got a new report, and one of the things, the way that this attack has been structured was simple. There was a group called Scattered Spider, small group, and they're based, from what we believe, in the United States. They're aged between 19 and 22 years of age, reportedly. And what they've done is they've gone on to places like LinkedIn and other places where they can find company directories. They find a name, they call the help desks of the companies that they're going with, and they proceed to get credentials into these places. So, usually a 5-10 minute phone call. So it's just basically asking them help with resetting a password, and that's what we go into. So um, this is kind of unique because it has come into the public eye, how devastating this can be. First of all, MGM, we are now almost 9 days into this, and MGM has not recovered, and they're losing about $25 million a day on this. They have a lot of challenges because what happened was, um, they made the phone call. Scattered Spider Group it worked with, but they partnered with another group called Alpha, and Alpha spelled ALPHV. And what they do is they created the attack software. So it's sort of like, you know, you don't need to know how to develop and write the word processing programs. You just download it from Microsoft. Scattered Spider worked with Alpha, just downloaded their payloads and put them into the systems and let them run. So in the case of the Caesars breach, they split the profits. So it was $15 million. So each one of them gets $7.5 million each on that upfront. Plus, between the two breaches, they got 6 terabytes, over 6 terabytes of client data. Somebody explained this to me because I don't have one of these. That a lot of people, when they go to casinos, they get loyalty cards so that they can get points and comped for certain things. And so, depending on how much you're gambling and how much you're spending at the casinos, you can proceed to get points for free rooms and stuff like that. Sort of like a points on a Sky Miles or something along those lines. Well, to do that, you have to give them your social security number and your driver's license. Basic keys to your identity kingdom. They've gotten 6 terabytes of that data. Chances are that is now going to be on the dark web in one shape or form, between the three casinos, between the MGM, the Harrah's, and the Caesars. So if you have one of those cards, you're going to want to freeze your credit. It's the only thing you can realistically do. You also want to apply for credit monitor. They're going to give that to you for a year or two. which is a joke, honestly, because you need it for the rest of your life. As long as you're running credit, you need to monitor that, unfortunately. So one of the things that happened with this attack is that what they did was they were able to get into a service that is called the OKTA system. It's a form of an MFA system that's there, and this group has actually come forward because they were using the identity authentication for both of these companies, MGM and for Caesars. Alpha was able to penetrate through. Once they got inside the system, they were able to basically get access through the Okta system. And Okta is just put out a news that says, hey, we've got 3 more companies that we're not going to name right this moment, but they've been affected by these attacks as well, and that there's probably been a rise over the last 12 months of this particular calling into a help desk to ask for a password reset, not having all the tools correctly there. So, not having what I mean by the tools, I mean that they didn't really verify the identity of the person on the other end. And so they basically did a favor. And when people trying to help other people, unfortunately, that was taken advantage of. And this has been detrimental to the company. I mean, we're talking $25 million a day is being taken out of this. It's quite incredible. So what are we also seeing? We're seeing a little bit of the confusion that's going on here. In the middle of this, Alpha sent out a press release, which is uncommon. They posted on Reddit, on one of the forums there, that of what they've done and the damages that they've done, that they said they were trying to work with MGM to come to terms. These guys, first of all, are like the mob. They're just like, if you played nice with us, we'll work with you. But some of the things that they did was they got into their systems and they got what's called persistence. Now you got to remember, MGM, Caesars, all these companies, these are not small companies as far as security is concerned. These are some of your biggest companies that security is there. I mean, if you think about when you go to a casino, there's cameras galore searching you back and forth. And in this case, what happened was, they were able to get in with a single phone call, 10 minutes away, with a low skill hack. Now, what's happened here is once they got into their servers, and so for MGM, they have what's called what we call hypervisors or virtual servers. So a server can be, so a hypervisor can proceed to host hundreds of servers, small servers doing little things like managing door locks and all these other services. So what they ended up doing was encrypting all of their over 100 of these hypervisors, which represent probably realistically maybe thousands of servers potentially. And so this has affected their properties dramatically. When it happened, that's why they were able to shut down everything. And the problem is, you go, well, restore from backups, and we don't know how far back these people are in the systems. Also, as you're bringing stuff up, until you find out where the breach comes from, if you bring stuff back up, they just proceed to knock it down again because they're still in the systems. And you're like, well, some of the things, since they had access to everything, in a facility as large as they are, they can put backdoors throughout the whole system. We're talking as simple as putting something inside of a copier on somebody's floor, to the lights are automated, so you have computers backing that up, AC systems, HVAC systems. It's all those type of things that just do the operations of buildings, all that management. That can all be where you can place a backdoor into the systems. So we are talking quite a sophisticated setup. With that said, I would definitely be looking at, if I were them, I would be definitely looking at the possibility that you have to replace every piece of equipment there. And that's including both, that's not just MGM, that's also Caesars and Harrah's, even though the bad guys haven't encrypted their systems or locked them down. Statistically speaking, once you're a victim of a cyber breach, chances of you hitting another cyber breach is almost 75%, which, and the reason for that is because of all these back doors that they place inside of the system. And also, so that's been some of the challenges that are going on here. So, this is going to play out more and more. We haven't even come into the lawsuits that are going to be filed. We're not talking yet about, and that includes personal data, malfeasance as far as protecting that data. On top of that, you're going to have regulatory fines that are there. And you're going to have systems that are going to need to be looked at and rewritten and hardened in different ways for safety. And the fact of the matter is that people's rooms were locked out of, and that's a safety issue. God forbid like I said, there had been a fire or some other disaster where people needed to evacuate that building in a safe manner. That was taken away. So again, it just shows how devastating one of these attacks can be. And we're going to learn more and more information as the days and weeks progress. And I feel sorry for the people who are there, whose data has been breached, and the families that touches. And it's going to be, I have no, and I have incredible sympathy for the IT teams that are going to have to go through and try and restore all of that or rebuild it. It's going to be quite a challenge for them. There's quite a lot to be done. And hopefully these companies honestly can survive that. It's, well, wait a second, you're going to tell me a company can be brought down by a breach, these megaliths of companies. Well, we go back to Lincoln University that had its biggest year, and back in 2019, and then by 2021, when they got breached, they basically closed the doors. If you go to Lincoln College out of Illinois, they're shut down, and they were only around for 156 years. So yes, this can be quite devastating. And we have a statistic from the National Archives, the United States National Archives, that companies that lose their data for over 10 days, don't have access to it, file for bankruptcy within a year. So we may be, it may not be that they go out of business, but they may be looking at a restructure or something like this. This is going to be quite significant. If you figure that currently, the bleed rate for MGM is estimated to be about $25 million a day. That's quite a lot on top of having to do remediation. So we've been doing this for, let's say, about 8 days. And so we are looking at, $200 million has already been spent just in opportunity costs, not including all the teams and everybody else that's had to come in to remediate all of this stuff. So the question is, what do you guys do to protect your businesses from these type of attacks and so forth? And so this Thursday, we are going to have a webinar at 11 o'clock. I'm going to go over on how hackers can hack into your businesses and how effective they can be and ways that you can stop that. So it's 11 o'clock Eastern time. I hope you guys can come on down. If you register for it and you can't attend, I'll send you a copy of it. It's that important. So you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.